How's it going? Susan Ruth here. Thanks for listening to another episode of Hey Human Podcast. This is episode 203, and I sat down with Tony Kim. He and his fiancée, Lauren Holiday, actually both came over a couple months back, interviewed them on the same evening, but I decided to split the conversations up. So Lauren was last week, and this week is Tony with episode 203. I'm fascinated by couples who both have their, everybody brings their own story to the table. We've all experienced our own thing, had our own traumas and our own triumphs. And then we come together and suddenly there's this other person that's had their triumphs and traumas, and we have to figure out how to make it all work out. So what I've really enjoyed about talking with Lauren and Tony is to hear their individual stories, which are both pretty intense at times and triumphant as well. And then hear as they come together, their perceptions of that as well. I don't know. I dug it. I think it's really interesting. Some pretty crazy times at hand for all of us. I hope everybody is hanging in there. I know it's really weird and we're all just trying to get through it as best we can. But I personally am doing all right, I think. I'm practicing social distancing. I'm trying to stay healthy with what I eat. I'm going for walks nearly every day. And if I see anybody out on the street, my roommate and I, we avoid other people, but, friendly, hello, how are you? But from 6 to 10 feet away. And trying to really keep that focus of health, because I tell you what, I've had a couple moments where I was very overwhelmed with all of it and got extremely emotional, had to sort of tuck myself away and just feel all the things I was feeling and then come out the other side. It's a scary time. I think the unknown is terrifying, right? Firstly, we can't see it. Secondly, we don't know when this is all going to be over. Thirdly, I think some people don't take it as seriously as others, and so that prolongs everything. There's just a lot going on. Financially, there's stuff going on. Emotionally, physically, there's a lot. And even, I think, whether or not we realize that we are stressed out, let's just say we handle stressful situations pretty well on average. I do. I handle stressful stuff pretty decently, I think. And then I have breaking points like anybody else, but we don't really know how our bodies are dealing with this stuff, right? I woke up last night. I woke myself up because I was clenching my teeth so hard. So I'm internalizing my stress, clearly. And there's just something to be aware of, that we're functioning in society the best we can and paying attention to the rules and trying to do what's right and what's best. But there is also the quiet unknown that is hard on our bodies, and that's something to be aware of and to be nurturing and self-care about with ourselves, I think. I said something the other day to someone over the FaceTimes. The interesting thing is that we've spent the last decade really super out in the world, right? Super social and next to each other and touching on the subways or whatever, and yet being so disconnected and isolated within our devices and things. And now the irony is we cannot touch others. We can't be within X amount of space from other people. And there's been so much the Zooming and the FaceTiming and the reaching out and the calling and the texting. Are you okay? How are you feeling? How's everybody doing? And that's really, it's this weird irony. I know that we're going to get through this, and it's going to look really different on the other side of it, I think. And that's scary and unknown. But look for the good. There are so many people doing so many lovely things for each other. There's free concerts online. Comedians are doing free stand-up shows. We're all connecting over things like that show, which I still haven't seen yet. Is it Tiger King? I think that's what it's called. I have to watch it still. We're reaching out to each other. We're dropping off groceries to the people who can't maybe access their food. We're making sure that old people and people with disabilities or people who are on food stamps get to the front of the line when it comes to the groceries. And I know the initial reaction was the hoarding and the panic, but I think that's starting to subside now. That lizard brain that we have that freaks out and like, okay, how do I protect myself? We're starting to come out of that and see, how can I be of service to my fellow human? And that's a really beautiful thing to see. Focus on the good. There's a lot of good going on. I'm trying to post stuff on my Hey Human podcast Facebook page of anything I see that's really wonderful. And to be honest, I'm just going to all the good news sites that I can find, the Tank's Good News and various Yahoo news groups that are good news and that kind of thing, and taking those and sticking them on there because we need good news. Boy, do we need it. Anyway, point is, I'm thinking of you, and I hope you're okay. And if you need somebody to chat with, please reach out. Email me, Susan at heyhumanpodcast.com. Maybe we can Zoom or FaceTime or something, or Skype or whatever. You're not alone is the big thing I'm trying to say. You're not alone. And hang in there, and we'll get through this. Again, as usual, my links page on heyhumanpodcast.com is going to have information from every episode I do, so definitely check that out. SusanRuth.com if you want to know what's going on in my life, which right now is literally nothing is going on in my life because I'm at home all the time. But my roommate and I keep threatening to make funny videos and stuff, so word on the street, that might be happening. We'll see if that happens. Rate and review Hey Human on iTunes if you have a chance, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And again, email me, Susan, heyhumanpodcast.com. I will answer. Social media, you know the drill. Hey Human Podcast is on Facebook and Instagram, and Susan Ruthism at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you to those of you who have recently donated to Hey Human Podcast. It is extraordinarily generous and very much appreciated. I could not do this without that, so thank you. In fact, anyway, thank you. Love you. I appreciate it so much. Oh, I do want to mention that this episode has some trigger warning stuff. Tony gets detailed in a couple places about some child abuse stuff and some abuse that he saw. And also there's a conversation that we have about midway that has got some not safe for work stuff. But since most of us are working from home at this point, maybe that's okay because you're your own boss at this moment. I'm not sure. But I just wanted to get it out there and let you know that those things do take place in this episode. Yeah, that's about it. Take care of each other. Wash your hands. I know everybody says that, but still good advice. Maintain social distance, but you can still be emotionally right there. 1 inch apart with emotional distance, 6 feet apart with actual distance. So, all right, that's my motto. Love you guys. Thank you for listening, and here we go. Hi, Tony.
Hey, Susan.
Welcome to Hey Human.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
I appreciate you having me.
It's nice to see you.
It's good to see you too.
I like your shirt.
Thanks.
It makes your skin tone pop.
That's what I feel about pink.
Pink,
I think it goes really good on my skin.
Yeah, it looks good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I handmade it.
It's a tricky. What do you mean?
I made it with fingernail shavings and no.
And hair.
Yeah.
Ironically.
Yeah.
That's where your hair went.
Yeah.
Hello. You and I met at the Second City Christmas party, the holiday shindig, and you were so kind because I didn't know, I went by myself. I didn't know if my friends that I have from Second City were going to be there, or, if I would run into them or not. And we were walking in at the same time, pretty much, and you were so nice to me.
Yeah, we kind of hit it off. It was really nice.
And I was really touched by that. You bought me a drink, and it cracked me up because you said, I'm not hitting on you, I'm just buying you a drink. I thought, well, that's refreshing.
I don't know how to... wouldn't know how to hit on a girl anymore anyway.
Well, it was just a sweet thing. So, I just got done interviewing your beautiful fiance, Lauren.
Cool.
And it was awesome. And now it's your turn.
Do we stop at like when we meet? Is that what we're doing?
No, we're going. This is the Tony hour. We're gonna talk about you from the beginning.
Cool.
Yeah, the booming God voice. In the beginning, there was Tony. Where were you born?
Key West, Florida.
Oh, festive.
Thanks.
I love Key West.
I spent a long time there. I think we moved when we were like 11 months old, when I was 11 months old.
Okay.
So I had a great time. Surfing and fishing.
Partying. Yeah.
I was a really big partier.
Yeah.
It's just so close to Cuba, so
sure.
Young.
Where did you move to at 11 months old?
Hawaii.
Oh.
Went to Hawaii, and that was really cool. I became a master teacher, and we moved out of Hawaii when I was 5. So I picked up a lot there.
So now these are warm climates with lots of palm trees. Was there military parents? Why were you moving around like this?
My dad was Navy.
Oh, okay.
He was a Navy guy.
Sure, that makes sense.
And then at 5, we moved to San Diego. So I think the commonality is palm trees.
And water.
And water. Lots
of
water.
Yeah, I'm going to move this a little quiet, closer because you're kind of quiet.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So, okay. How old are you in San Diego? 11?
When I first moved there?
Yeah.
5.
Oh, wait, I thought you were in Hawaii at 5.
I was, yeah. When I turned 5, I moved to San Diego.
Oh, I see.
So by the time I was 5, I had already lived in 3 states.
Oh, my goodness.
And they're all tropical.
World traveler. All right, let's go from there then. 5 years old.
Cool.
Yeah. Mom and dad together, not together?
They were together at this point. They officially got a divorce, I believe, in 89.
And you are how old when that happens?
10.
Okay.
10. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
Do you remember that much?
And in San Diego, yes, I remember it all very vividly. And in San Diego, we had moved around a lot within San Diego. We were in Navy housing for a couple years, and then my dad bought a house in southern part of San Diego, right next to the border. Mm. And then we had a 9-month duty station in Virginia. And then when we moved back, he sold the house and we moved back into Navy housing in a different neighborhood. Yeah. And then the last year before the divorce, we had moved into a rental home in Mira Mesa.
Close family, not close. Obviously your parents were divorcing soon, but when they were together, was it a close family?
I don't know. I don't think so. We did things, but it was a very, I don't know how to say it. Like, all of our food was boxed foods, and we only went to vacations in basically Las Vegas and Disneyland a lot.
Did you have siblings?
Yeah, I had 2 brothers. So it was a very, I guess, manufactured kind of familyness, because my dad was also in the Navy, so he was gone a lot as well. Mm-hmm.
Where are you in the birth order of the brothers and sisters?
I was the youngest.
Okay.
So 2 brothers.
2 brothers.
And they're both half brothers. They have a different father. Mm-hmm. So they were 10 years older than me, so I wasn't very close with them either. And my mother had a lot of mental issues, so we weren't very close.
You and your mother?
Yeah.
What were her issues?
Well, when she had passed away, a few years ago, she was diagnosed with something called schizoaffectoid, which was like an extreme form of schizophrenia, I believe.
Schizophrenia meaning she heard voices and things.
She talked to herself a lot and to other things. That's all I knew. Was
she violent?
Yes, she was extremely violent.
Toward you or in general?
Both.
All, okay.
Yeah.
Is that why the divorce happened, or?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's largely all of it. Because we were all very abused.
By her or both parents?
Well, sometimes my dad would beat my older brothers under direction of her. So It was kind of a weird thing. Yeah.
And at 9, 8, 7, 10, how are you coping with this?
I played a lot of video games and read a lot of books. Played with my toys. One thing my father imparted into me very well, I guess, I don't know, was the importance of school. So I focused on school a lot. Cartoons.
What happened when they got divorced?
That was a really messy time because my mother, since she had come to America
from
Korea, had never had a job. She had been impregnated when she was 17, something like that, in Korea during the 60s, which was very backwater back then, to my belief. And then brought over by her first husband, and then he left her, and I guess that's where she kind of fell apart a little bit. Also because he had raped her, so that kind of.
As a husband, he had raped her, or before they got, or that's how she got pregnant?
This is what my aunt told me. So he had raped her when she was a child, or not child, but teenager, 17, and she got pregnant, and then they got married because of a family arrangement in order to save the family honor kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then he brought her to America, and then 3 months after she gave birth to the oldest brother, she was pregnant again with my second brother. So usually that sort of arrangement isn't voluntary. People aren't pregnant right after they give birth, usually. So,
that must have been a really weird relationship then with your older siblings and your mom.
I was not very close with my oldest brother at all. My middle brother, we got along really well.
Still?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a pretty good guy.
Okay, so when your parents get divorced, you're 10, and things hit the fan because your mom hasn't the coping skills?
Yeah, so she didn't know what she was going to do. She completely fell apart. My dad basically paid 6 months rent on the house that we were in and gave her like $1,000 and said, bye, I'm living with my girlfriend now. And, you know, and of course now knowing even in the messed up situation it is, but, you know, if they had gone to court over this, there would probably been alimony, but that wouldn't have really taken care of her. And I don't know if a dude should pay alimony for being beaten for 10 years, you know, regardless of her situation. So it's a really delicate balance as far as trying to figure out the morality of who deserves what, when, where, and why.
So your dad beat her?
No, she beat him.
She beat him?
Yeah.
That's rare, huh?
Yeah. It was super, super, super rare. Especially in the 80s. Like, you know, I'm probably the only one. That's it.
The only one what?
Whose mom beat everybody instead of the dad abusing everyone.
Yeah, I'm sure they're out there. You're probably not the only one.
No, I'm gonna claim it now. Yeah, probably not the only one, but it's a rare situation. And to be honest,
your dad left you. Yes.
I haven't heard anyone else with that.
But your dad was willing to leave you behind with your mother?
Yes.
Didn't? Oof.
Yeah, that was nuts. So she kind of lost her the last bits of sanity that she had left, and really got very abusive from there. And then
was it physical, mental, and sexual? Was it just
no, just physical. Really, just physical, because mentally she wasn't really there. So it was just physical abuse. Mm-hmm.
We probably shouldn't say just. I said just, and I'm thinking that's probably not the right.
Yeah,
because it's pretty.
It's like I got off easy.
Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah. But yeah, that's. Oh, I'm clinking in my eyes.
No, that's fine.
No, that's what you get for giving me ice.
Ice water is It comes with its price.
So yeah, during our last few months, she was very, very abusive during that time. And I mean, the abuse level was really extreme, even on like a lot of story levels.
How do you mean?
Like one day when I woke up, I was like 6 or 7 years old, and I woke up on a Saturday morning, and I was just going to go get up and watch cartoons and pour a bowl of cereal. So I got up and I go to the kitchen, and my mom is standing over my dad with a knife, and he's sitting at the kitchen table, with his hand splayed out, just like spread out on a cutting board, and her hand with the knife was over it, and his pants were down to his ankles, and 8 wooden clothesline clips were attached to his dick and his balls all over the place, like in different spots, and he's crying, and she's looking very nuts, and like, so that's the morning picture I woke up to.
Holy shit.
And that sort of situation was pretty common. I mean,
so she was a sexual sadist.
No, because honestly, I don't know I have no fucking idea what that was about. No idea. But it was definitely nothing sexual. It was nothing sexual. It was more about putting his manhood or his manliness or something, his maleness, under pain or pressure.
Is your dad Korean?
No, he was white.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
I haven't talked to him in 18 years. So, yeah, it was definitely nothing sexual. This is the only time that ever happened. So, that's good. It was a really weird situation.
Did you get your cereal?
No. I had, he begged me to remove the clothesline clips from him because he wasn't allowed to. So I did, and then I went back to bed.
Whoa. That's out of a crazy ass movie or something,
Yeah. There's some I think it's normal.
I'm curious, when you would go to school and hang out with your friends at school and things, and this is your normal, and their normal is...
Well, since it was my normal, it wasn't anything that I brought up to my friends. Mm-hmm. Because we never talked about our parents.
How did you self-soothe through all this stuff? How did you keep from going crazy?
I'm sure I did a little bit. And especially in my teenage years, I did a lot of stupid shit. But...
Like drugs?
Yeah, drugs and petty theft and being a bully, stuff like that.
Right.
So
it's logical that you would be a bully, because you were bullied. Obviously, there's something has to give with all that.
Yeah, I mean, I was a good, sweet
violence.
Kid, but in the end, I didn't know. I don't know. As my hormones turned on in my teen years, I found anger, but I very much was just looking for peace. So I just wanted to do my thing and be left alone. I was bullied a lot in school when I first, pre 14 years old.
Were you taken away from your parents, from your mom, after the divorce?
At 10, when during a beating, my middle brother who had moved away was alerted by my oldest brother that this was a particularly crazy beating. So he called CPS. And he was 18. He was moved out to live with his girlfriend. So they came, checked me for bruises, found a bunch of bruises. And then also the power was off in the house. So they just kind of took it off from there.
Yeah. What happens next?
And, well, then they took me to a holding facility which is a place where they put newly entered foster kids.
Mm.
And it's kind of like a clinical environment, you know, a big room with lots of beds, orphanage type thing.
You must have been terrified.
I was very relieved.
Oh, okay.
I was very relieved. It was definitely more relief than anything else. I started making friends immediately in the facility. Yeah, it was a big relief.
Mm-hmm. How long were you in foster care?
From 10 to 17. Well,
oh, a long time.
Almost 18.
And what was that experience like?
Most of, I don't know, it was up and down. Like as I remember each home.
Let's start with the first one.
The first home was like 2 months long. It was a short-term home. And it was a very old couple. And they wanted me to call them grandma and grandpa, which I was very uncomfortable with. I didn't believe in calling people I don't know endearing names. And I probably couldn't explain it so eloquently when I was 10. But now I realize why. It was like, just call me grandma and grandpa. I was like, I don't know you. I don't want to call you anything other than what your names are. They were nice though. It was a nice place. Kids there were nice. And
how many other kids?
2. But it was just all short term. So I was a very, very frightened child as far as getting in trouble. I didn't want to like get in trouble for anything. I remember once I broke one of their dishes and I swept all of the broken glass underneath their cabinets where the toe kick is. And I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, that's so stupid. Who couldn't find that? But
the logic of a 10-year-old though.
Yeah, it was like, if they can't see it, it must not exist kind of thing. So I was really scared of being in trouble, and they were really nice about it. And then my middle brother, he ended up going to court and getting custody of me. So I moved in with him.
Were you excited for that, or?
Yeah, that was really cool. And looking back on it, I mean, like, that's such a brave thing to do for an 18-year-old. I mean, it's just really neat of him to try and do that. But I was living with him for like 2 months, got me enrolled in school and everything. And he was renting a room he was working at McDonald's at the time, just as like a drive-through guy or something. And, he was renting a room and I slept with him in that room. And then, about a month or 2 later, my father asked if I wanted to go on a cross-country trip with him and his girlfriend and their daughter, and we did. And when we came back, found out that he was arrested.
He who? Your brother?
My brother. For stealing a CD player at a store. He was really into little things like that. So I went with my dad back to his girlfriend's house, and I was there like 2 nights, and he's like, we're going to put you back in foster care. And I was very, very sad.
Whoa.
I didn't get along very well with her daughter, his girlfriend's daughter.
Okay.
And it really wasn't that it's not like I didn't get along with her. I liked her. She didn't like me.
Mm. She didn't want the attention.
I didn't like her too, some parts. That road trip was really rough. It was kind of rough, not really rough, but it was kind of rough. Like, we went to this amusement park in Virginia, and ride roller coasters and stuff, and I always liked that, right? Because I was saying we went to like Disneyland a few times and things, and so my dad liked to ride roller coasters, and we did that. And when we were there, she was too afraid to ride roller coasters. She didn't want to ride any of them. And her mom didn't want to ride any roller coasters. So my dad decided not to ride any roller coasters. So I went on all these roller coasters by myself, 10 years old, who just came out of the foster care situation. And here I am just riding roller coasters by myself.
Sounds like your father enjoyed being around women that were not very great.
She's an okay woman. That's a
whole other ball of wax.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a whole different situation.
Sure.
So, because I can't judge someone because they don't ride roller coasters.
No, I know, but it's just interesting if you're with somebody that has a child and that child is there, you would encourage them to go spend time with that child, not send the child off by himself while you know what I mean?
No.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
I'm not going to give her a pass on that one. I'm allowed because I'm an observer.
Totally. So we went to no, because she was there for me kind of during my last few months with my mother. Like she was someone to call. So,
Did they put your mom in jail when they took you away? Mm-mm. What'd they do with her?
They left her in that house. And then after a month or two, she was evicted, and then she was homeless.
How long was she homeless for?
17 years.
Wow. Did you interact with her throughout that time?
Once, 2 months, during when I was living with my brother during that time. That was it. So it was about 3-4 months after I went into foster care. Yeah.
How did that go?
It was weird. Quick and weird. They had, for whatever reason, one of my brothers went to a courthouse in San Diego, about an hour and a half away. We were up in the Inland Empire area. And they saw her, and she was like, hey, you want to come up and see me, while for the day or whatever. I don't know what the situation was. They didn't actually tell me the conversation. I'm just speculating. I think it's a pretty decent guess. I'm like, hey, you're homeless. You want a donut? I did. Someone told me, one of them told me they gave her a donut and brought her up, and it was fucked up. And I had a little bit of guilt for this for a while because she came up and she was like, oh my God, I miss you. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, yeah, cool. I love you too. Can I have $1? And because I didn't know anything about what she was doing or going through, I just asked for $1 because I wanted $1 to rent a video game at the video store. Mm-hmm. And she gave me $1 and then said, okay, she had to go. And then that was it.
That was the last you saw her? Mm-hmm. Still to this day? Mm-hmm. Because she's passed now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What happens after your dad takes you back to foster care?
Well, I went to foster care. And then I was put in that holding facility for a couple of days again. And then I was put into a group home. And I liked it there. It was a lot of fun. I was there for like 6 months. And so since it wasn't a family environment, it caters to trying to keep the kids relatively comfortable and happy versus family doing it, I guess. So it's like prescribed. We go to the park once a week. We go to somewhere once a week. We go to school. There's always someone who makes a nice dinner. Some staff lady in the evenings. It was all women except for one dude in the morning that took us to school. And they were all very nice. They were all really sweet women. And
how many kids were in the group home?
6. And they were pretty good. We were friends like all of them.
Where do you remember where you were with all of this as far as feeling abandoned or unloved or any of that? Was that starting to build up in you? Or
I was worried most that I would have to fail a grade because I had been moved to so many schools in such a short time that I would be held back a grade. That was highly concerning for me.
Were you held back?
No, my dad ended up writing a letter to another school explaining the situation, and they just passed me. I had missed half the school year, and I'd been to so many different schools, and they had just passed me. Whatever he said worked, so they just passed me. And that was nice.
Where'd you go after the group home?
To a short-term home or a long-term home, and I was very unhappy there.
Long-term means a family, or?
Yeah, it's a family home that is designed to keep kids for a while, more than just like, more than just like, there's no prospect of a family member coming to get you or being adopted out or anything. So you were, for all intents and purposes, probably going to be there until you're 18. And that was not my favorite place.
How come?
They were very strictly religious, but I felt like there was a lot of hypocrisy to it. The place made me feel uncomfortable.
Were there other kids there?
They would say there was 4 other kids plus one of their own. And they would, and I didn't really get along with everyone there. It was very like a contentious one-upsmanship environment amongst the children, and always trying to prove who's like the best behaved kid or whatever.
And how old are you in this home?
12. And
so when you're in a house like that where it's not comfortable and you don't feel like you should be there, do you have a voice to say?
A little bit, not too much.
Of some sort?
You have your social worker that's assigned to you by the state.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her repeatedly that I didn't like it there.
Mm-hmm.
But they wanted me to keep trying it out, and eventually the situation just kind of broke, and they let me go, and they moved me to another foster home. So that was nice.
What was the next one like?
That one I was there from like 12 and a half to when I graduated high school. That was a really, really good place, and I was very lucky to be there.
Group or a family home?
It was a family home.
How many kids?
One other foster kid, and then there was like this family friend kid that was always there, because of someone. The foster mom was friends with this other lady, and her son would come over all the time.
How are you developing your identity at this point? Because for children...
I was not.
You weren't, okay.
There was no identity.
Mm.
There was no social skill development. There was, I was very behind socially. I didn't know how to act around women. I was obviously the same age as everyone else and the same grade as everyone else. So I didn't understand then how far behind I was socially. I didn't have very good social skills. I wasn't good at talking to people too much. I was still very much like a little kid. Mm-hmm. While in 8th grade, there was like people dating and kissing and people doing sports and, all these people. And I just...
Did you do sports at all?
I did a little bit of martial arts when I was living with my parents, and then a little baseball for 6 months when I was actually in that short term, or that one home that I didn't like.
Mm. Were you a little guy? Because you're a solid guy now.
You mean as a kid? Mm-hmm. Was I like small? No, I was pretty chubby. I was a chubby kid. Mm-hmm. I didn't really turn into this until I was like 18. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was a late bloomer.
Me too. When you hit 18, what happened?
I was accepted at San Diego State based off of grades, SAT kinda. I had 1100 back when it was like 1600 was max, so that was pretty good. And then the foster care thing. So I had half scholarships and grants and half loans. Oh,
so they give scholarships to foster kids?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, if you get accepted to a college, primarily through FAFSA. So FAFSA, Financial Aid, Federal Scholarship
Works for me.
I'm pretty sure that's not what it means. But
we'll get the acronym sorted later.
Yeah, but in FAFSA, you go to college, you always apply for FAFSA. All colleges have a FAFSA offices. Mm. And
what did you want to study at the time?
I was majoring in computer science. and drugs.
What kind of drugs?
All of them.
Did you have a fave?
Anyone I could get. Yeah, it's pretty much at that point in my life. I was smoking a lot of weed, and I did a lot of not weed.
Like
the opposite of weed.
Like heroin, like meth.
No. Just a lot of powders.
Cocaines and things.
Yeah, a lot of powdery things.
Is there more than one powdery thing? Cocaine and
crystal meth.
Crystal meth. Is that okay? I wasn't sure if you smoked that or what you do.
No, you can actually smoke that or shoot it up or snort it.
It's really versatile.
Yeah, it's versatile. I think it's really underappreciated.
I feel like the PR people on meth have not been getting the word out.
Because most people who do take meth, and there's a lot of people currently
Adderall.
prescribed meth, right, is you could swallow it. So, there's 4 different methods of ingestion for that. Mm-hmm. And
they should lead with that.
Most popularly, it's swallowed. But they don't sell it as meth. They always give it a clever scientific name.
Like Adderall.
Like Adderall or something like that.
Yeah.
And, but a little known fun fact about meth is it was the most widely prescribed drug in the 70s. It was for over 30 different clinical disorders.
Mm. Yeah, I was a quote-unquote hyperactive child, and the doctors wanted to put me on Adderall, and my mother refused them. They said nope. Thankfully, she...
Yeah, that's really nice of her.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that is where the whole just take a pill to cure it kind of mentality came from. Mm-hmm.
Leftovers from the 50s probably. And
it was
culture.
Meth, because meth was just during the mid to late 60s. Mm. It was prescribed all over the place.
Mother's Little Helper, it was called.
Yeah. And then they changed it in the 70s and 80s and became a slightly watered down version of it, and those were called diet pills. Mm-hmm. So
Fexidrin, they all had like Fen. They all had fa words.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. There was because it was from ephedrine, and ephedrine was in a lot of shit. It was in.
What did you like about it?
That you just have endless energy. That's probably what everyone likes about it.
Okay.
That's what,
Where were you getting the money to pay for it? Did you have a job?
Yeah, I was working.
Yeah. Okay, so you go to school, go to college.
And I dropped out because I had just stopped going, basically.
You weren't into it.
So I went for 3 months the first semester and a couple of days the second semester. And then I had to, then I got booted and they made me repay all my scholarship and loan money.
How'd that go?
I qualified for a very highly rated top secret program in the military, and they gave me lots of bonuses, and I used all of those to pay all that off.
When did you decide to join the military? That's sort of jumping. Let's jump to that. Where you drop out of college, you are taking drugs.
This was about a year later.
A year later? Were you taking drugs still when you decided to go into the military?
No.
What made you quit then? Why did you stop?
It was on a 1-year stint.
Okay.
That's pretty short for a drug addict.
I would say that's short, yeah.
That's not bad.
Did it just placate what needed to be placated, or did you make a conscious effort, I want to join the military, therefore I have to be sober?
No, definitely not that. I think it was just, it was a mix of things. 1 was girl. 2 was...
girl.
Not being involved with the same people that helped get me involved into that section of life. Mm-hmm. So that was probably a good thing.
Why military?
Because I knew that I needed to do something with my life. And I had failed college. So.
Had you been arrested at all?
No. No, I have not. No,
okay.
I was a good boy.
Well, you're smarter than the average bear, my guess is...
I didn't get caught for anything.
You didn't get caught, exactly.
I didn't get caught for anything. There's a couple of close calls.
How did you pick the military branch that you went into?
I was most familiar with the Navy. My foster dad was also in the Navy. So between my father, him, it was the one I was most familiar with. And
you went into the nuclear program?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Did they throw you in a sub and sink you under the water for a while?
No, I was in a carrier.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to go. My father was on submarines, so I've done a lot of cruises and stuff. I understood what it was like, and I didn't know what an aircraft carrier would be like. So.
How long did you serve?
Just 3 years.
Now, I remember when we met and we had that long conversation during the party. We talked about the concept of thank you for your service. And I've asked other military people about this before, because I've read all these articles where people say, don't thank me for my service. It makes me uncomfortable. And you seem to kind of have that a little bit.
I think thanking you for your service is a very... All right, so it's a balance, right? Because we should never treat people how they were treated when they come back from Vietnam. Regardless, I understand there was a lot of fucking crazy shit that happened in Vietnam or whatever. I wasn't there, but people do some crazy shit when they're under stress. And there's no stress like the stress that you read about that happened over there. And when they came back, these guys needed support. They needed some fucking... They needed a lot of shit.
A lot of stuff, yeah.
And
as do all, I don't
know. And that's the other side of it, is everybody needs some support. I mean, can you imagine what a day is like being a bus driver in L.A.? It's just nuts. So
I mean, everybody in the military, but I get what you're saying with that too.
Yeah, everybody. Because
we put people through, and I've mentioned this before for people that have listened to this podcast for a while, is that, you know, we put people through a boot camp to prepare them for military service, but we don't unboot camp them. We don't put them through a program that helps deprogram all the programming.
Right.
Which is grossly unfair.
And and if you think about it in a logical sort of manner, the military is meant to protect the people, and the people are giving the military a purpose. So there should be that co-equal thinking. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like say if you had a society of just a military, how dumb would that be? Like,
fascinating though.
You know, like otherwise, but you would have you would have nothing to do. There'd be nothing to do. It's just one big military. What are we protecting? Nothing. Ourselves, right?
You'd have to there'd be a military within the military, because they would go awry, I'm sure. There's got to be a dystopian novel about that somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be on one of these shelves.
So for people to thank me, it's nice, I guess, but you don't thank anyone else for their service. It's not commonplace in the society to...
I like to thank teachers. When I hear that someone's a teacher, I say thank you for your service, because I think that's a hell of a job.
But yeah, I completely agree. But it's that phrase, thank you for your service.
Right.
Everyone is providing...
Makes sense.
A service that is essential. Mm. Whether you're the trash guy, the mailman, someone making food, everyone is providing an essential service. Everyone deserves the phrase, thank you for your service. Mm. Yet I'm the only one to receive that phrase. And I believe that I should receive that phrase for a lot of other things that I've done in my life that I don't get that phrase for. Mm. So it's a weird thing, you know. Maybe thank you for surviving your childhood and not becoming a raging criminal. Yeah. Or, you know...
I'll get in that line.
Yeah. You know, or thank you for just being a decent guy. Mm. You know.
Here's your award for not raping anyone. Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you for not raping people. That's being nice. Yeah. That'd be nice.
I think they are starting to give out that award, actually. But
I think they are. Yeah. So
how long did you serve?
3 years.
Did you go to any conflict?
Yes, I was in the first wave of combatants that retaliated after 9/11. Mm. So my ship was the first one there. Our battle group was the first one to launch attacks. Mm.
How does a person who, I'm guessing, has bottled up some rage, has got some issues from childhood, then channel that in a healthy manner while serving and being in service like that? Because did anything come up at all? I mean, it's on a carrier, you're not doing hand-to-hand, or you're not in a battlefield, so it's, I guess, a little different, but...
yeah, my job is very intellectual. Mm. So when everyone else was doing that, I was studying physics. Mm. Lots and lots of physics. Mm-hmm. That was my job, studying physics.
Did they send you to school then how does that work?
No, I was in 2 years of school before.
Okay.
2 years of school. So that was my school. And they gave me a military bachelor's equivalent.
Got it. All right. Because I figured you wouldn't be able to do what you've done without some sort of an education that I assumed the military would take care of.
Yeah. They gave me a very, very good education, of which and they also taught me discipline that I was not allowing myself to achieve. So you're talking about, like, you know, that rage or whatever. They helped me shape myself to control more of my impulsive nature, because I obviously wasn't able to do that on my own. So that was nice. I'm very thankful for them for that. The Navy is a pretty solid organization as a whole. They regularly do volunteer activities. So if you're not at war, then all the port calls that they do around the world, there's like bunches of sign-up lists all over the place to do volunteer stuff, like painting a school, or...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you could go paint a school, and then you always hear from, like, the older sailors, like, yeah, if you really want to get into the culture, go volunteer some local thing, and then, like, some family will invite you back to their place to eat, and, you know, you get a home-cooked meal from some country that you know, cool. Really neat. So there's a lot of opportunities like that, in addition to just, like, being a drunken sailor in a port call.
Did you do a lot of those opportunities?
No.
They
were all full when I found out about them.
Okay.
So that's a good problem. But there was like 3 different ones I tried to sign up for, and they were all full.
It's neat that I wonder if that's true of every branch, or just, I mean, obviously in the Navy you go from port to port, but there's also, you know, Marines and
that's the big thing, is since we're port to port, you know, if you're in any of the other branches of military, you're in a stationary base out in the middle of nowhere, far from a city. And in general, you're not in a overly friendly environment to where you get to go do things. That's why they have a different rotation schedule than we do. So when they're deployed, they're out for a long period of time in a solid chunk in one spot, and then go home for a long time. They're not constantly in and out like Navy is.
Unless you're on a sub and then you're in the sub for quite a while.
No, there's 2 different kinds of submarines. But they have the same rotation. Okay.
And does Navy transport Marine? Is that how that works?
Yes.
Okay. So you would be on ships and there'd be Marines as well as...
Well, I wasn't on a Marine transport ship.
So those are all different. Okay, this is stuff I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't know where I could talk too much about this, so I'm being
fine. I get it. Get a little cagey about it.
Yeah,
I get that.
I don't want to say anything I'm not allowed to say.
That makes total sense. Absolutely. What happens when you get out of the Navy? Do you know what you want to do at that point? It's a very specialized skill you have. You and Liam Neeson.
Yeah, I do have a particular set of skills. My Liam Neeson impression is not on point.
That's all right.
So,
you look just like him.
Oh, yeah. I get told that all the time. Actually, I was told once I would look like an Asian Jason Statham, which I thought was really flattering.
Oh, that's a nice compliment.
Yeah. And I feel like I could do pretty good Jason Statham, so.
That's excellent.
Thank you. And so that was a really weird time because I did not get out honorably from the Navy.
How come?
I smoked weed.
Oh, shit.
And many people get a second chance for that, but in my particular field, there is no second chances for that. So, get out.
Bummer.
But I have a bachelor's degree in particle stuff. You know, I know what the particles do.
Particle stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So, I knew I had a future. Just wasn't going to be with the Navy. So, I received an other than honorable discharge, which is not dishonorable. It's not honorable. It's a weird in-between world where people go when they're not necessarily good, but they're not necessarily bad.
Purgatory. Military purgatory, sure.
Military purgatory. And I hope they change that with this whole legalization thing, because maybe when weed is legal...
I don't think so.
Then maybe...
I'd be shocked if the military gave allowance for...
No, and they probably won't retroactively change it, which is weird, which is another weird fun topic on the sociology of legality versus morality and the timeliness of it. Because, like, how could someone commit a crime 3 months ago that is not a crime today? You know what I mean?
That's a very good question.
So is he a criminal because he willingly broke a law? Or is he an innocent person who's doing something that should never have been illegal? You know?
Right.
And I'd say the latter, because there's a lot of super wealthy families that made a lot of money during Prohibition that were all allowed to keep their money. So, you know, hey, I think it was something that shouldn't have been made a law. But that's kind of a tangential conversation.
We welcome that here at Hey Human.
You know.
What did you decide to do with all that knowledge?
So I got to work for one of the biggest oil companies in the world, being a...
Crisco?
You know, I was just reading an article on Crisco. Did you know that's cottonseed oil? Hydrogenated cottonseed oil.
I don't know that I did, no.
Invented in the late 1800s because there was a lot of cottonseed oil waste that was not sold for cooking because it had a strong smell and bad color. But once they figured out the hydrogenation process and solidified it at room temperature and deodorized it, then they marketed it as an alternative to fat pig lard. And that was fun to know.
Genius.
And they also, the thing was to not market it as cottonseed oil, but to just market it as Crisco. And their tagline in the early 1900s was made from 100% Crisco.
I love it.
And so it sold like wildfire.
That's incredible. Did you know that Alka-Seltzer, you only actually need one, but I think it was a woman that came up with the plop plop fizz fizz, and they realized that they could sell twice as much because of the double but you actually only need one. They're like, it's genius.
And those little pods for your washers and your...
Yeah, Tide Pods.
Yeah, that's probably 10 times more detergent than any machine needs.
Yeah, I hardly use any detergent in my laundry.
Yeah, I use
just
this
a
much.
tiny bit.
This much, I always use powders.
Yeah, same with shampoo. We don't need half the crap we think we need. You probably don't need any shampoo because you're Jason.
I've got to take care of my scalp.
Well, you might lotion it up, I guess.
I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea how. I'm very lucky for my scalp care because it's not like something I've studied. But I've continually used soap, shampoos, and lotions. And I like my scalp. I look at it all the time.
You do?
Yeah. From the inside.
I understand. How is it going to work for the oil company? What'd you do for them?
I operated a loading facility for big old tanker trucks.
And how old are you at this point?
22.
Okay. So you stuck around there for a while?
I was there for like a year and a half.
Mm-hmm. Are you aimless?
Yeah, I'm pretty aimless. Like, I've got this great education, and I've got these great skills, and I've got this drive to succeed, but I don't know really what I want to do. I really want to take it easy. That's really what I wanted to do at that point in my life. I didn't want to work hard. I felt very entitled to an easier life because I had been through so much up to this point. I had been fighting way more than the average person, I would say. And looking back, I know that that's what I was feeling. I was done with fighting to survive. So, that was part of the Navy thing. I really enjoyed it when I was in it, I was really not that excited about the war thing. That kind of changed my whole thing. That's why I kind of stopped being into it. So it's a very tough thing, and some people are in this country are going to hate me for that, and some people are going to love me for it. I just my daughter was born during the war, and I was not excited to be on this crazy war rotation
schedule. Were you married?
Schedule.
Were you dating? What was up
I was
with
married.
That? Who did you marry? You skipped that one.
You didn't ask me that.
Oh,
question.
okay.
We have to I'm only responding. That's not true because then I wouldn't talk about cottonseed oil.
All right, tell me who you married.
There is a lot of details that we have to skip over because we have to progress in the story.
I get it, sure, but I am curious.
I married this girl when I was 19. I met her when I was 18, a couple months after I was 18. And she was actually dating my roommate at the time. And then one night I was chilling with her and her friend, and they both approached me and expressed their interest in me.
Threesome?
Kind of.
Or dating?
Yeah, they just both wanted to date me.
Okay.
I ended up having a threesome with her friend, which is another story. And I had a threesome with the other girl on a later part in our life, which is another story. But
you are good at math, though, so we could get there if you want to.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now I've got 6 people, I think, but it's 6 people, but it's really 4 people.
It wasn't. I mean, at that point, it's a different thing, but it wasn't anything I was looking for. It's not anything I was trying to aim for. It was just, and I wasn't trying to steal my roommate's girlfriend, but she approached me and said she was interested in me, and that she really didn't like being with him. It wasn't what she thought it was going to be, because they were like childhood friends that didn't see each other for 10 years and then saw each other again, and then it worked out for like a month, and he was like, we're gonna get married and all that, and she was like, yeah, I don't want any of that. And
so then you came along.
So she realized, yeah.
And you started dating her, and we
started dating her, and after about 15 months, we got married. Right.
15 months because she got pregnant, or I mean, you got married because you got pregnant, or you got married and then you got pregnant?
No. Yeah, she was pregnant later.
Okay.
We got married because I was joining the Navy. Mm-hmm. So the recruiter's like, hey, because she came in with me one day, she was like, hey, if you get a house, or if you get married, they'll give you a house. And I'm like, what? Okay. Because the plan was I'd finish my schooling, visit during in between the school times, and then if we're still together after I get out of the Navy, then we'll get married. And they offered us a house, and so we get into the car, and I'm like, so you want to get married? She's like, yeah. So we got married. She wanted out of her life as much as I wanted to begin one. Mm-hmm. So
how long were you married?
12 years.
That's a good run.
A little over 12 years.
How was it?
It was really up and down, really high highs, some pretty shitty lows. You take 2 kids that were pretty fucked up, make them adults, and then give them a world of responsibilities. And
how many kids did you have with her?
2. Mm-hmm. 2 kids with her. So,
are you close with your kids?
I'm decently close with them now. Not too close, but we talk once or twice a month. So, not as often as I'd like.
So these are different than the son I met?
Yes.
Okay.
The son you met was a girl I was dating while I was a senior in high school.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then she got
pregnant. You have potent sperm, my friend.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
I get that compliment a lot. If only I had a nickel for
That's what Crisco's made out of.
Hydrogenated Tony sperm. That'd be so gross.
On your shelves now.
Super salty. Sometimes it tastes like strawberries. Because I eat a lot of strawberries.
Yeah, well.
Anyways.
Absolutely, citrus is.
I've never actually tasted it, so I don't know if that.
Oh, interesting.
That rumor is. Ever...
I wonder if I could ejaculate if I would taste it. I feel like I probably would. I feel like I would taste it.
I mean, like.
My curiosity would drive me there.
It's an interesting thing, but yeah, I've never tasted my own sperm.
Okay.
But there's that rumor that if you eat a lot of fruit, like pineapples, or whatever.
That's not a rumor. That's just fact.
It's true.
Absolutely.
It totally is.
For men or women, if you eat citrus fruits, pineapples...
I've never tasted a pineapple vagina.
Well, you won't taste like the fruit itself, but it sweetens up the excretions.
Yeah,
Stay hydrated, lots of water.
I feel like I am a pretty decent vagina licker.
Oh, Lord.
And I've never tasted, like, different flavors.
It makes
it
food. Sweeter. Not that you'll be like, oh, the schnozberries taste like schnozberries. You're not going to do that. But it'll sweeten up your secretions because of the acid. And
by a decent vagina licker, I don't mean like my ability, but on the
that you do it more than. Yeah, I understand.
The times of licking.
Yes. There'll be an award waiting for you at the end of the interview. We'll have someone type that out for you.
Right next to my "Thank you for not raping people" award.
Yes, exactly.
I'm a highly rated guy. Another thing, though, that I would like to have been thanked for my service.
Vagina licking.
Yeah, it just, I
don't know why vagina licking sounds so grotesque, and cunnilingus sounds so much. It sounds like Italian.
Because it's Latin. It's a Latin thing.
So much fast.
Better. But yeah,
going downtown.
Well,
there's so many.
I don't like euphemisms
Spending
like that.
time in Texas. How's Florida treating
Never
you?
heard of any of those.
There's a lot of state-oriented sexual innuendos.
Travel down the Mississippi River lately?
That's right. I think that might be the butt. That's butt stuff.
Oh, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't it be?
Oh, my goodness. All right. You are married. You're 12 years together. You have 2 children. You get a divorce. Are you in San Diego at this point?
When? When I got out of the Navy?
No, when you get out of your marriage.
Yes.
Okay.
When I'm out of my marriage, I had just moved back to San Diego, as a matter of fact. And
is this around the time you meet Lauren?
No, that'd be so weird. I wouldn't do that.
What do you mean?
To date someone right after a divorce?
A lot of people do that.
I know, I did it too. But it wasn't with Lauren.
When did you start? She said that you started doing stand-up. When did you start doing that?
I started doing stand-up in August of 2010.
How long after your divorce then?
Remember that like it was in August of 2010.
Yeah. How long after? Wait,
you were in 10 months?
10 months, okay.
Yeah, 10 months after that.
Was that your healing mechanism or just
no, because I started stand-up before I was divorced.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like... And I found my love for it and my passion for that particular art form then. So I don't, it was there and it helped me when I was going through my divorce, but it wasn't like, there was no conditional aspect to my entertainment career. There was nothing conditional about it. I found it, I loved it, I did it. And what didn't cause my divorce, didn't help me get over my divorce.
Okay.
It helped me meet other girls.
Yeah.
That's.
Well, that's how you met Lauren.
That's how I met Lauren. I met her 2.5 years. No, 1.5 years after my divorce.
Okay. And you, did you know who you were at that point? Did Tony figure out?
I had just started finding it out. Because after not knowing, basically, then I slam into the military identity very hard. And then between that and my marriage identity, because there's only us, there's no individual kind of thing, which is really great and romantic, but at the same time, we're so young, we grew together. And then when we started growing apart, there was nothing there. During the divorce, I remember my ex-wife telling me a line, which I'll never forget, because it helped catalyze a lot of this. But I was begging her not to leave me, and I said, I loved you. And she's like, you don't know what love is. And that's something that's like a phrase that you would hear in a movie or a story or something like that, or a song, or, not everyday conversation. But that really stuck with me because that was so true. I didn't know what love was. I was 30 years old and no idea what love was. At least not the kind of like true love. I love my life. I love my comfort. I love not having to worry about what my next year was going to look like because of whatever. I don't know. But I didn't know. So that was, along with my self-identity, was identifying that, because shortly, what really catalyzed it, honestly, wasn't when she said it that it hit me. It was the first girl I dated. And after about...
Post-divorce?
Yeah. Well, we weren't like on paper divorce, but she had said it. So that's when I consider my divorce. Whenever the paper signing was paper signing. But about a month later, I was dating this one girl. Met her at a comedy club. She was a waitress there, and really, really gorgeous young girl. And I was just super stoked by the situation. And after one night of making out in her car for 30 minutes, the next day I told her I loved her. And she was like, I can never love you. And I was like, fuck. What did I do that? Like, you know, obviously I was like really hurt from the divorce. And I was really just looking for something, whatever it is, companionship or lack of boredom or, you know, I don't know. But I still couldn't identify why I said that. So obviously I didn't know what love was. And that really helped me dig into myself. So from then I had a very strict no monogamous relationship clause. So that way I couldn't attach to anybody. And, but I could still date, and because I like dating. I think like a lot of people are like, oh, I hate dating. I like it. I like the aspect of, like you, getting to know a lot of different people, whatever their stories are, whatever their backgrounds are, their habits, their favorite restaurants, whatever it is. I really thought that's a lot of fun. So that was my period of self-discovery, I suppose. It was that first year after the divorce.
Then what?
Then I was really entrenched in stand-up comedy at that time. I had a quarter of a house.
Goodness.
Oh, yeah.
That's directly overhead, huh?
Oh, maybe. Pausing. Can you edit this together?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
That was really loud.
You're so talented.
You know. It was all I could do not to make the non-monogamous clause joke. Like Santa Claus and the Christmas time, non-monogamous clause.
Well, I think you should have thrown that in there really much. I think it's really interesting. A lot of people are kind of put off by like the idea of a polyamory. But if you've ever dated or even been interested in more than one person at a time, you're a polyamorous person. Or you have exhibited...
Or you're ethical non-monogamous. They're different, right? Because polyamory, I've interviewed polyamory people in that culture.
And, that's kind of like religious bound or whatever.
Well, there's structural integrities to every... And some people self-identify with whatever they self-identify.
I really like that phrase, though. Ethical non-monogamous. Mm-hmm. That's really... Like, as soon as you said that, the bell went off. I thought that's nice. Ethical non-monogamous.
In other words, you're
ENM.
You're open and honest, and you are forthright, and people get to decide if they want to be in that situation or not.
Right, because everyone's adults and can consent to their own idea.
And you keep everyone's safety in consideration, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, yeah, I like it. Cool. Learn something new.
Hey, that's what we're here for.
Thanks.
So learning is caring.
I hope.
Or is it sharing is caring?
That is my goal every day. So after about a year, after my divorce, a year later, I was staying in my house. That was like a quarter of my house that we'd gotten through an inheritance that she actually got from a really, really other fucking complicated situation.
This is who inherited a house?
My ex-wife.
Okay.
But since we were together, it was ours. Mm-hmm. But we only had a quarter of the stake, and I gave my ex-wife everything in the divorce. Kids, we had 2 cars, her car. I gave her the house, everything, because she didn't come with me from San Diego, which was the original deal. But she decided not to come. That was how I found out. So,
so you're dating.
So that house was sold by the uncle who had the controlling share. Mm-hmm. Gave her portion, and I was laid off, and a couple of girlfriends broke up with me, or it just went away, whatever. All at the same time. So I had a lot of weed. I had a lot of weed, and I decided I was going to go live in my truck on the beach. And that's where I found myself. That is where I came to really appreciate where I was in life. And it was all put together, honestly, by a girl. Girls have saved my life so many times. But I was laying in my truck, had my front driver's seat down, and I was reading a book. And I was smoking a joint, my feet up on the dash, and I was like parked on the beach.
And what year is this?
2012.
Okay.
Summer of 2012. And these 4 girls on horseback trot right by me. And one of them stopped and looked in the window and gave me this really big smile. And I don't know if it's because it was with like a decent looking guy with a book kind of thing that she was just taken with or something.
He reads. Oh my God.
Yeah, like, I can't believe it. This is a reader and he's in there. Oh.
He's got a certificate that says he doesn't rape people.
Yeah, this is the perfect one. And that look.
Is that a pineapple on the dashboard? Holy shit. We struck gold, girls.
I hope he ate that recently. This is the one. It tastes like pineapple. So, that look changed my life. Here I am, basically doing what other people in the world would pay like a $10,000 family trip or some sort of destination vacation for, to sit on the beach, smoking weed, reading a book, and getting stared at by some girl on a horseback. You know, it's like that section of time you could base an entire romance novel off of that moment. And that's when I learned to have gratitude and be happy. Like, it was just an amazing, amazing moment. The secret of happiness was embracing what I have been through versus letting it hinder me. And that changed my whole entire existence.
Did you talk to the girl?
Nope.
What was it in her smile that triggered that cascade of self-understanding?
It was a sexy smile. It wasn't like I'm smiling at a guy laying in his truck smile. You know, it was like,
flirtatious.
It was a flirty smile.
Sure.
It was something in there.
Did you stay on the beach? Did you stay living in your car?
I lived in my car on the beach, or various locations for like 4 months.
Okay.
And then another stand-up comedy guy he heard of my situation and insisted I move in with him and work with him because he ran a dispensary. So I ran a dispensary.
This is pre-legalization, is it not?
No, it was medically.
Oh, medical.
Medically legal, yeah.
Got it.
So I was doing deliveries, and that was crazy. And then I started working in a hydroponics shop, and that was crazy. I learned a lot. And through that, I learned my love for plants. You know, I just really came to appreciate the amount of different kinds of flowering plants that were in San Diego County. It was a really... In general or marijuana Yeah, just
style?
In general.
Okay.
It's just because of, like, through that, after, growing and doing that life cycle, I was a farmer, quote unquote. And through that experience, it helped me appreciate the cycle of life of plants. And I love flowering plants. They're just, all the flowers in San Diego, there's so many, so pretty.
It's a really pretty city.
And that was one of the things I missed all the years that I was gone. I was gone from San Diego for like 11 years, 12 years. So the length of time of my marriage, basically.
Where were you living during that time?
During my marriage, I had lived in, from Chicago, where boot camp was, from Kansas City to Chicago to South Carolina to Washington to Kansas City to Minnesota, back to Kansas City, then to San Diego. Some
skills you got as a foster kid, being able to adapt like that. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, I got to see a lot of different, there's a lot of little subculture in America. It's really nice to be able to witness it.
When did you meet Lauren? Were you still in your truck or were you at the new guy's house?
No, I was living in that house at that time. So fall of 2012.
Now, I know that she described it in a certain way. How would you describe your relationship in the beginning?
The relationship?
Just how you...
Or the meeting?
The meeting and how you interacted with each other.
Well, the first time I met her, I was like, oh, well, there's a lesbian girl. Probably not going to date her. She was with a girl who was very, very butch. I don't know why I said two varies. She's butch.
There's probably a sliding scale of butchness. There's a sliding scale of all things, so...
I'm sure, yeah. But yeah, she was like... She's introduced by a friend, like, hey, this is Lauren. Hi. And then that was it. And then...
and you were running around the same scene, the comic...
Yeah, I had some pretty decent success. I was running a comedy club. I was actually helping manage a friend's comedy career, getting him booked because he had such a weird act that he couldn't book himself.
What was the act?
He, amongst other things, did this really hilarious Hitler impression. It was really funny. But he actually did his whole act as if he was Russian. Like, it was, the whole entire act was a character. And it was pretty funny. And he made the audiences laugh. So I didn't care. He was nice to me. Helped me get a job, actually. When I first moved to San Diego, because we were one of the first people I had met. And wasn't that good at getting himself booked on things. So actually, I met him on a Craigslist posting because I was looking for places to book myself with comedy. And for some reason, I can't remember exactly why, but we met like within weeks after I moved into San Diego.
Hitler seeking Jason Statham.
Yeah, you know, it was weird. And he was a pretty weird dude, but he was a good guy. He helped me out in a few different things, and he wasn't my first booking in comedy in San Diego. I got my first booking before I moved to San Diego. But yeah, so
what turned the tide? Oh, sorry.
No. Yeah, I don't know. I was running the comedy club, and I was helping him with his career, and I was a regular at another club. So, you know, as far as stand-up comedy, I was doing pretty decently in San Diego.
What was your style of comedy?
I like doing bits and impressions, like little like scenes almost on stage in some sort of character. Looking back, I don't think I was really that good. There's a lot funnier people, but I made the audiences laugh, and
that's the job.
That's what I wanted. There's nothing like that feeling. There was nothing like that feeling, and yeah. So I wasn't overly technically brilliant at comedy as far as art. Some of these people they're master artists. They're really good. If I had a funny thought, I'd write it down and then say the funny thought, and then that was it. Some people are like joke structure and propositions and, you know, commas and shit, and I'm like, I don't know what any of that is. I don't know what any of it is. I would write something down. If I had a funny thought, it made me laugh. I was driving in my car or something like that. And then I would say it at an open mic. And then if it didn't land, I would determine whether or not it needed to be adjusted, or if I could do something to make it funnier, or just drop it altogether. And that was it.
All the while, are you getting to be better friends with Lauren than along the way?
No, I didn't know her at all. And I talked to her for 2 minutes that first time. And that was it. And then we were on a SeaWorld commercial together. And then she comes up. And she's like, hey, what's up? You know, how you doing? And, oh, let me get your phone number. And so she whips out her phone and gets my phone number. So 2 months later, again, I'm at another comedy club. Some friends like birthday roast or whatever. And she's there. And she's like, hey, let me get you a drink or whatever. And then come to find out, she's, you know, mutual acquaintance, because, you know, he was stand-up comedy is a relatively small community. She's mutual acquaintance with my roommate. She had texted him a night we were actually doing a volunteer comedy event for a weed organization, like trying to legalize weed, you know, one of those groups, and we were doing a stand-up night for them. It was like this whole thing. It's a whole like cool thing. And we were doing this show for this thing, and she texted him, "Hey, I've just had a really bad day. You know, what's going on?" And he's like, "Well, we're actually just doing this show." So she's like, "Oh my God, it's really close to me." So she walked over, and she says to me that the way I was performing on stage, she just kind of felt it that night. It just kind of hit her. I think I was a rebound guy, but we started talking after I was done off stage, and we were making out, and then we spent like the next several days together. Next few days, well, 7 days. I don't know. Who knows? And it was great. And then we don't talk for like a week or two. And then I see her at an audition, and she's like, "Hey, I got back with my ex-boyfriend." Cool. You don't love him. You don't want to be with him. I'm not saying you need to be with me, but if none of this was true, you wouldn't let me do this. And I reached up and I kissed her in the middle of the audition line. And it was a nice long kiss. She didn't pull away. And then 2 days later, she texted me. She's like, "Hey, I broke up with my boyfriend." I was like, "Cool. Well, see you around." And kind of were seeing each other. I was seeing other people. And after about a month and a half dating, I didn't talk to her for like 3 weeks. And then I went up and did a show up in Oakland for a weed convention thing. What is it called? HempCon. Big weed convention thing. So silly. It was a lot of fun. I did 3 HempCons. And the cool thing is they give you a lot of stuff. It was a really crazy gig, and I got back, and she was like, "Hey, I started seeing this guy, or I saw this guy one night." And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "Well, you didn't call me for 3 weeks, and I didn't know what was up." And I was like, "I felt something." And I was like, "Okay, let's exclusively date." So that's when I stopped seeing other girls. And because I never felt anything. Always the thing was, because I always told everyone I dated, I'm non-exclusive. But if we're together, then I promise, then that's our time, right? I'm not going to be like with you, but talking to this girl, texting her or whatever. So, I always felt fine with it, but with her, this moment I felt really like, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. And then, yeah.
How long were you two together? And then you started to have what I would call, I suppose, messaging, things starting to come into focus for you. Your awakening, as it were. So stuff that I'm just
you
I'm
guys
jumping.
talked about that.
Well, we talked about that at dinner that night.
Okay.
And I want to jump ahead a little bit because I wanted to establish that you two came together, and anyone listening, Lauren's episode is going to come out first. And then
we're on 2 separate episodes.
You're on 2 separate episodes. So Lauren's episode will come out first, and then the following week will be your episode, this episode. And so we've already, I had her pretty much tell a lot of the story, but I really want to get to your perspective.
Yes, because we haven't collaborated on this at all. Yeah.
Right. So we're in San Diego, you're dating, all this stuff, and you two together decide it's time to make a try for Los Angeles, because I'm sort of speed reading through the storyline, but you get to the point where you're like, let's go to LA. Let's try and make
4 months after we first kissed.
Okay. So let's get to LA. Things are difficult. You guys are fighting, things like that.
No.
Oh, okay. Then let's swipe that from the record. Tell me about getting to LA. It's the precursor to you having a sort of awakening. You're sort of figuring out who you are together, separate. You've both had childhood traumas, and you're working things out with each other about what that means. But
I felt like I was good to go. I was at peace and happy and just doing whatever I wanted. Her dad died 2 months after we moved to LA. that all made it very fresh for her. And this was not something she had worked out. So that became...
the thing.
That became something. Became something. Because immediately when she got back, she's like, what are we? Are we like together or not together or whatever? Because we got our insurance in the same name. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, we're together. This is, you know, I'm committed to you right now. We're going to make this go. So, because she was like, she didn't, after her dad died, it was kind of a big hit.
Yeah,
for
huge,
her.
For sure. We talked about that quite a bit.
But that brought up a lot of her life for both me and her, because I had a lot of questions. Who's this guy? You know?
Who's the dad?
Yeah, who is he? I don't know. I never met him. So I asked her about her whole life. And that brought up her whole life. And that was pretty nuts. And she had been married for 14 years, so her individualistic discovery got on pause, because when she got married, she was still looking for that.
Yeah, we talked about that quite a bit.
So she really, really grasped who she was aiming to be, I guess. But
what about
shortly
you?
after her divorce.
I want to talk about you, though.
Oh, well, I was pretty solid. So, but when you go through an enlightening experience, the things that are going to hold you back will come to light. So you either work through them or they'll destroy you.
So what was yours?
Mine, I don't think I don't want to say I didn't have anything, but other than like just the general underlying anger. And that anger was just there. But our fighting wasn't because of that. It's a very, very... Yeah. So going back to my statement of if you have any underlying uncontrollable issues, it will come up. Mine was anger. Mine, I had a weird, deeply hidden anger that was not dealt with. So when it came time to go through what I was going through, the trials of the time, that surfaced very suddenly. Like, I was this peaceful, happy dude, and then suddenly I was angry. And I understand now what that was, but then it was as much a surprise to me as anything. So her inability to understand herself made me mad at that time, like a lot. Now this anger, honestly, I'm very, I don't know where to guide this part of the conversation.
Okay, so you started, when we had dinner, the three of us had dinner, you both talked about your spiritual awakenings, and that it was a different process for the two of you, that she said that you were on an accelerated process, that you started getting information and things. So I wanted to talk to you about that if you were open to it.
I got a lot of information.
What did it feel? How did that, here's this day, and then here's this day. I want to hear about what was different between this day and this day that suddenly you were getting all this. What was going on?
I mean, I could look at your library right here and pick out 10 books that I knew everything about everything that they were talking about and had never read those books or anything even close to the subject matter on day previous. And
then the next day suddenly you just knew stuff.
And then suddenly I just knew stuff. And everything I was reading and confirmed it.
Were you freaking out about that, or were you?
Yeah, very much. Because as I was saying during the awakening process, any insecurities, anything that you're insecure about in your life, your beliefs, will all come to light. If you're really going through it. And I don't know why I went through it the way I went through it. most of what I read doesn't happen the way it happens to me.
What do you think triggered it?
Well, it was a long process, starting from when I was born. Because obviously something was put into motion a long time ago.
Sure.
Then a big old bump happened when I managed to graduate high school. Then a big bump happened when I managed to finish a college. And then a big bump happened when I had my kids, got married. And then a big bump happened when I started stand-up comedy. Big bump. And then a big bump happened when I got divorced. And then the major catalyst started when I found my secret to happiness. And then after I moved to LA, things started getting really, really interesting. That's when I first started recognizing
that something was going on.
What
kind of information were you getting? Can you...
I don't know if I could talk about all of that. I mean, that's a broad question. Specifically, what I'm going to do with myself.
Your path.
Yeah.
Your purpose.
A little bit less on purpose because, I believe that everyone gives themselves their purpose.
And you had been an atheist.
In combination.
Correct?
Yeah, I was very, very atheist at this point.
And then suddenly...
Super atheist.
Yeah.
I was very surface Christian, my early 20s, late teens, early 20s. Didn't go to church, but didn't say Lord's name in vain kind of thing. Started becoming atheist around early mid-20s. And now I like to say I study everything. As much as I have time. I'm a dabbler in studying. I just like to study things. Mm-hmm. And this came to light. Where do you think you're going? I'm asking you different questions I asked her because I think it's the perspectives, of course, are wildly different from... And you don't have a pre-written list of questions. Mm-hmm. So for you to remember the 500 questions that you've asked me to this point, that you've asked her, would be remarkable. That's deserving of its own episode of how you remembered 500 questions in order.
Yeah. What do you think your purpose is?
My purpose is to be happy.
Because why?
Because that's what everyone's purpose is. To appreciate your gift of life. It's a gift. If you don't like it, it's rude to reject a gift.
Why do you think you and Lauren were brought together?
To create a synergistic energy format at which that is a highly implausible situation in its formation, coming from a yin and yang of two different perspectives. Mm-hmm. To see if they can coexist in harmony.
How's it working out?
Perfectly. Mm-hmm. But in the beginning, there was a lot of not working perfectly of the awakening and recognizing that. Part of it was, were we being forced together? Part of it was dealing with our own selves, her childhood and everything really, really came out really hard. Sudden mistrust, sudden lack of personal identity, all came out very quickly after her dad died. Then a month later, this process began. So it sounds nuts, but the thing is it is all nuts. It's all super nuts, and I'm so glad to be a part of it. It's an interesting world.
What does sacred geometry mean to you?
Everything.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sacred geometry. Well, I'm not a master at it, but there's a bunch of numbers and there's a bunch of shapes, and it's the basis of everything that is. Math, talking from a more technical point of view, I'd like to say scientific, but I don't think I'm a scientist. Math, I believe, is the original language of everything, which is even kind of based off of, what is a saying by Thoth, Egyptian god. 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 1. It's a process of a lot of things, and that is an example of sacred geometry. That is the cell division inside of a growing embryo. It's the foundational mathematics that explains life. So when you take into geometry, this is just one step up from arithmetic, right? You know, it's explaining more of the shapes and patterns and colors and things like that, like the overlap of cabbage leaves, or the shape of a spiral galaxy, or everything. The math is the same.
Fibonacci.
Yeah, the distance of your index fingers in proportion to your palm, and then that in proportion to your forearm, and that in proportion to your entire arm, and that in proportion to, like, you know, when I found out my hand and my nose distance is the width of my palm, and that's equal to the width between my eyes.
Yeah, and this part of your arm is your.
These are all exact proportions.
Yeah, it's wild. It's your foot.
It's so amazing and so exact. Mm-hmm. Such a design is just, it's just jaw-dropping, the magnitude of the perfection that it is.
Is that what? Excuse me. Is that what brought you back to a space where you believe in something bigger than yourself, to go from atheism to then realizing the mathematics of the universe, then to come back around? And so you could go either way. You could say that's just the science. It's everything is technical and explainable, and then for you to then go past that and come back to a place of sacred.
I'm very grateful to my science background because it helps me understand spirituality. Yeah.
It's an interesting thing to say. And some might find that to be a conundrum.
Well, yeah, because that same person probably doesn't understand the intricacies of particle physics. I mean, if I was to explain half of the crap of nuclear interactions with matter, that's just as, you know, ununderstandable to the same person. Well, but then again, there's a lot of atheist scientists out there.
Of course there is.
But there's a lot of...
And science is its own religion.
Yes, it sure is. Because I guess instead of looking at they're looking at individual particles and physics itself as God, instead of the whole, which is fine because, you know, 3,000 years ago, they were doing just the sun, you know, so it went from the medium to the tiny to the big, you know, whatever. It's all the same. So yeah, I think, that's all very, very, very important to me.
What would you tell your young self if you were to sit down next to him? So let's just say, I'm curious what you would tell your 9-year-old self, and I'm curious to know what you would tell your 16-year-old self.
My 9-year-old self, I would say, be brave and don't give up. And to my 16-year-old self, I would tell him to do a little bit less stupid shit and don't give up.
What would you tell your 50-year-old self?
Don't give up. And congratulations on not raping anybody. Thank you for your service.
Where are you going?
Anywhere I can.
Yeah. Because it's
I really love I love the acting business. I love it more than video games. It's the other constant, right? And this is childhood. How'd you get through it? By watching Neverending Story 50 times. Every time it came on. You know? Something like that. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing because so many people are like that. There's various traumas that a lot of people lots of people have been through, whether it's their brother incessantly picking on them, or a girl that just ripped this dude's heart out, or something, somebody went through a major trauma where a story had helped them get through it, or relate, or just let them bawl and open and cry, or whatever. And that idea of us being bonded through stories is really, really important. There's so many stories that are both very similar and so vastly different, and we all tie together in a way that that's really beautiful. I mean, in of itself is a story. The human story is a beautiful story. Yeah. And I'm so grateful to be a part of it. In stand-up comedy, I was telling my own story, and my story from my point of view. Mm-hmm. As an actor, I get to tell other people's stories and their points of view. As an improviser, I get to make up stories on the spot, and just hopefully they're not shitty.
And as a human?
As a human, I live the greatest story ever told. That's the human story. Mm-hmm. That's the one I'm living it.
Yeah.
Someone's going to talk about me somewhere someday.
They already are. We talked about you for a good hour and a half before you got here, so Lauren and I did. Well, what's interesting is the thing you just said about, our stories and how they help each other. Lauren and I talked about that exact same thing at the end of her episode. It's interesting that you bring it up because it mirrors exactly what we talked about.
I hope I'm super close to a lot of things that she talked about, because it'd be
fascinating.
So
well, I mean, you
so
are in
weird.
Places and on the other. And again, just looking, we've talked for almost 2 hours. So, and I would love to, it would be interesting to put the two together.
We have skipped so much of my life, just to let you know.
Yeah, there's only so much we can do. But, at any given time. But the thing that's interesting is I could either put them as separate episodes, or if I put them together, it would be a 4-hour journey for the listeners. That's a lot. So I'm hoping that
she's led a really interesting life too. So
you both have, absolutely. And I appreciate you being forthright and telling me your story. And as I said to Lauren, that somebody, probably many people listening, are going to see themselves in you. And I think that's everything. That's all, that's why we're all here.
It's a very, being an artist is to display your vulnerability, but it's hard to, I don't consider myself an artist right now. I'm not doing an artist thing. I'm just, so it's a really interesting thing to be this vulnerable.
Being a human being is an art form, though, don't you think?
Yeah, so much. So much. So much.
I appreciate you. I appreciate that you were open and that you came and because those aren't easy stories to tell. That it's extraordinarily vulnerable, especially as a man.
And there's so much that you can be judged from, so much in the spectrum that holds so much back from the true potentiality of us all. Is that fear of being judged. And that fear of being judged is shame for living your own life. And that shame from living your own life is because you're not grateful for what you've been through, no matter how hard it is.
It's a hard place to come to, though. It's hard to be grateful for all the horrible, horrible things.
Yeah, I got to be grateful for being beat.
And not everyone can get there.
I'm grateful for my time in foster care, because it's taught me a compassion for everyone else. Yeah. Instead of like, oh my God, I'm this like super whatever successful or whatever I've done through in my life. I've got through college and all this stuff. Who are you, you uneducated, whatever. I have, there's a lot of different avenues that one can have a superiority complex over. And there's a lot of different avenues of which you can have compassion for one another and realize that none of us are any more or less important than anyone else. Sometimes somebody plays a role that's essential for that moment, and then somebody else plays a role that's essential for that moment. But they're not more or less important than each other.
Of course.
Unless you're talking about Kirk or Picard. Picard is obviously way better than Kirk.
Freaking love Picard.
And both of them are...
Kirk has his place.
Yeah, Kirk has his place. He's great. He needed to be there for when he was. But obviously Janeway is better than all of them.
Never watched that one.
Oh my God.
I know.
This interview's over.
Yeah, well.
This interview's over. Oh, yeah. Seriously?
Yeah, we can't.
Janeway.
We cannot love the underdog of the world until we love the underdog that is ourselves. That it starts with us always. And most of us have suffered trauma. If not, I mean, I might go out on a limb and say all of us in some way or another, whether we acknowledge it or not.
Well, in some form, yeah. And for whatever that person is going through, is very difficult for them. Mm-hmm. Whether it's like, my parents just got a divorce. What am I going to do? It's like, that's one aspect of the 15 traumas I've been through. But for him, that one trauma will shape his entire life.
Yeah.
And it will determine everything he does from that point out. It is a life-shaping moment, and to belittle that would be nuts. Or we make divorce a lot less like a crazy thing, because I don't think it's that ridiculous that people would grow apart after a while.
Yeah, it's different for everybody, and
I've been
how
talking
old
to you
you
for
are.
2 hours. I'm already kind of done.
Yeah, I would say it's, as Ram Dass would say and has said, we're all just walking each other home. We're all doing the best we can.
Yeah,
We are artists, and our canvas is the human condition, and we're doing the best we can.
Yeah, and it's really important that we grow, and sometimes that's not with.
But not everybody gets to do that either. So.
No, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the people whose lives are cut short. That's an interesting purpose.
Well, some people don't grow even with a lifetime of life, whatever that means.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm witness to that as well.
Yeah. Tony, thank you. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for being open. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having the show.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing the show. Thank you for inviting me.
Let's go eat some Thai food or something.
I'm super hungry.
I'm sure you are.
So hungry right
Bye, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Bye. Thank you.
Rate and review Hey Human on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Thanks for listening.